Melissa even called Mr. Danny and spoke to him. I thank God for my father, earthly father. He taught me about the Heavenly Father. I was telling Ben back there when I was young, I didn't appreciate that. And a lot of times I didn't like it because I couldn't do what my friends were doing that had worldly fathers. And I think now what a tragedy that was for them. That I was the one truly blessed. We'll be in 2 Samuel chapter 23. We're coming to the end of 2 Samuel. Yep. It's been long enough, hasn't it? We started in 1 Samuel in April of 2016. So it's been a journey, hasn't it? Yeah. I was telling Mike this morning, it's been a joy for me thinking about Keeley and Ben fixing to leave us, that they were here for this. Yeah. And as we close out, and they're about to depart us. So I hope it's been a blessing to you and to everybody else. It has been to me. I've seen a many of things I've never seen before. You know, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask. It says he gives liberally and upbraideth not. Ye have not because we ask amiss. I could ask for a new car, then I got to pay for insurance. Or I could ask for heavenly wisdom. You know, there's a difference between temporal things and eternal things, I guess is my point here. And David here, he's coming to the end of his life. And, you know, there's no regret here. We've read some of this already. There's more forward looking. I mean, he does reflect on what he's done. Let's read the verse here, verse 1. Now these be the last words of David. Now we know these are not the actual last words, but this is more or less his will and testament, a testator here. David, the son of Jesse, said, the man who was raised up on high, the anointed of God of Jacob, the sweet psalmist of Israel, said, the Spirit of the Lord spake by me. His word was in my tongue. I want to talk to y'all this morning, just briefly, about whose words are in our tongue. I had already studied this some when John spoke to us last week. Shall we smite with the sword? This little member right here gets you in trouble, can't it?
Oh, man, that thing's deadly.
Cause a lot of hurt. Cause a lot of hurt. But David said, the Lord spake by him, and his word was in his tongue, not on his tongue. There's a stark difference there, isn't it? See, David had hid so much of that word in his heart that it had just become him. In fact, in Psalm 19, what did he say in verse 14? Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. So David here is reminding people, in the beginning here, he starts it. You know, we're talking about Father's Day. He acknowledges his daddy. He's letting y'all know that his position, he was not born into royalty. He was not next in line to be the king. If it had been man's way, Saul's sons would have been king. But God went and handpicked him through Samuel and anointed him. And he became the sweet psalmist of Israel. And he's reflecting on the fact here that people have benefited from his words because the Lord spake by him and his words were in his tongue. Most of the time when I speak, my words are to benefit me. My words are to advance my cause. This has been painful. If I could have skipped over this of all the things, because I am preaching to me. Whose word is in my tongue this morning? Whose cause am I advancing? I want us to think. Name a time when David's words was not beneficial to others. Saul pursuing him, trying to kill him, would have killed him if he could. This is not make-believe. This is not pretend. This is real life. A man pursuing to kill him. Finding here where David spoke evil of Saul. Oh boy. I can, people that pursue me, not even trying to take my life just to aggravate me, the words that proceedeth out of my mouth. You know why that proceeds out of my mouth? Because His words is not in my tongue. His words are not in my tongue. In fact, when Saul died in battle, what did David do? Y'all remember in 2 Samuel chapter 1? David penned a psalm of lamentation for Saul, a man that came out and tried several times to kill him. I've got a long way to go, y'all. I have got a long way to go to become like this. This is a good example in leading the way. Listen, think of all the chapters in the book of Psalm. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. See, what we meditate on eventually spews out of here, don't it? You run up on somebody that all they talk is politics, what are they thinking about all the time?
Not much.
Yeah, not nowadays. You run up on somebody that wants to talk about fishing or cars or computers or this or that. Whatever they're meditating on is what's in their tongue. I find it interesting here too. You notice in this verse 3 here, it says, the God of Israel said, the rock of Israel spake to me. David here is identifying the Trinity here. You got the Spirit, you got the God of Israel, and the rock of Israel. He's communed with all these. We had an old preacher one time. He said that they heard a young preacher in there. He was in the office praying before he came out to preach. They said, it sounded like you were talking to 3 people in there. He said, I was talking to the Trinity. He said, you might as well get to know the whole family. Whose word is in our tongue this morning? Do our words benefit other people? Or as John said, are we drawing the sword? James sure laid it to us in chapter 3, didn't he? He said this tongue can set hellfire itself. But he also said in verse 2, for in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man and able to bridle the whole body. It's in James 3, verse 2. Able to bridle a perfect man if he offend not in word. If he offend not in word. What did Paul tell the Colossians? Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. Big tall order here, isn't it? I think about all the things I said last week. Oh boy. This little old member here, it got loose a few times, brother. Because His word was not in my tongue. I want to challenge us. Monday's coming. Think about Job's friends when they showed up. What did they do? Whose word was in their tongue? What were they trying to do? See, a lot of times, like John was pointing out last week, we like to take a sword and profess our doctrine. Make us look good. And that's what I'm guilty of a lot of times with my words. Let me show you what I know. Is that acceptable in His sight? What am I meditating on there? I'm meditating on clay and what clay knows. I pray that we can absorb this and study this and think about what we say. Think about why we say it. When Jesus was before Pilate, they said He answered him no more. Why was that? There were no more words that could be said to benefit him. That's sad, isn't it? Is there going to come a day when there's no more words that can be said to benefit you? I pray this morning as we go through the week. Listen, when Peter was at the fire, that girl told him, says, your speech betrays you. Because he'd been with Jesus. I hope my speech starts betraying me. Keaton, I got a long way to go. But I'm striving. Press into this. That's what we got to do. Got to start somewhere. I can't fix yesterday. I can't fix what this tongue did yesterday. But I can make sure it don't do it tomorrow. I love you. May the Lord bless you this morning.